Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be discussing with two valued colleagues from UC Berkeley, Kyan Chan and Anthony Green, who work in the financial aid office. Also joining us is Ben Kimmin, our student finance supervisor. I'm Michael Marcelli, the finance director at the system-wide UCEAP office. And our session today is about navigating the financial landscape of study abroad, and we're going to show you some great options that are affordable for your student applicants as they look through our 24-25 academic year application cycle. And with that, thank you. We'll have questions and Q&A at the end with contact information, but we'll start off with Ben Kinman.
All right. Thank you, Michael. And good morning, everyone. So over the next few slides, we're going to discuss affordability and how to determine if a program is affordable. So is study abroad affordable? It can be, yes. It can reduce a student's annual cost of attendance. When we talk about annual cost of attendance today, or in my slides, that I'm speaking of the all-in annual cost for a student's education. So this would be the cost to attend fall, winter, spring, or if you're at a semester campus, fall and spring semester. So that's what we mean by annual cost of attendance. So this would include books, tuition, transportation, housing, all the related educational expenses. So we consider a study abroad program to be affordable when a student's annual cost of attendance decreases. So if they go on a fall semester Bordeaux program and then they return for the spring semester at Berkeley, if the cost of those two semesters is less than had they stayed at Berkeley for the whole year. So that's for our purposes here, that's what we're considering to be affordable. So there are some caveats to that when you're comparing costs between study abroad and your home campus cost of attendance. One of the issues is when you're at a quarter campus school and you're going on a semester program. So a student may ask, how do I compare my costs if my home campus is on a quarter term system and I want to attend a semester abroad? So there are some campus differences like we just talked about for the quarter campus. And it really has to do with the term that you go abroad overlapping your home campus terms. So when you go on semester terms abroad, when you go on a semester term abroad in the spring, oftentimes you're going to overlap the winter and spring quarter at home. So how this affects the total cost of attendance is that you don't have to pay for 2 quarters, but you do have to pay for 1 semester, which is less than 2 quarters. So the total annual cost of attendance will decrease if you attend the spring semester program. If you attend the fall semester, it's likely that your cost of attendance is going to increase because you'll return, if you return, you'll have to go to winter and spring quarter to finish the year. Semester campuses, it's always a one-to-one comparison. There's no term overlap. So semester campus students are always going to go on semester programs. So they just need to know how much is 1 semester at my school, and then I compare it to the EAP program cost. And then for year programs, it's always a one-to-one comparison. So you take the cost of our program for a year and then compare it with how much a year is at your school. All right, so here is a visual representation of a UCEAP and UC cost comparison. So we're using, in the quarter campus comparison, we're looking at UCLA. So for UCLA year, according to the cost of attendance tables that are available at the link there below on the Office of the President website, they have all the campuses there. You can go and check it out. But it tells us that UCLA for a year right now is costing $38,242. And then so below that on the bottom three rows are three different scenarios. So if a student from UCLA went to Bordeaux Fall, if they went to Bordeaux Spring, and then for a year, just as an example, we've got Ghana there for a year. So if a student goes to Bordeaux Fall and then they return for winter and spring, you can see that their total cost of attendance on the right-hand side is $45,000. So that's going to be fairly significant increased cost there if they have to return for winter and spring. However, if they go on a Bordeaux Spring program, you can see that their cost is $32,769. So they are able to realize some a decrease in their overall annual cost of attendance if they go on a spring program. And then lastly, you can see that Ghana year. So this is we price out Ghana to be $31,670. So that, and you can see that's a simple comparison with the UCLA year. And you can see that that is an affordable program. And just to note that the costs that I'm presenting here for EAP, they are taken from our website. It's important to note that none of the costs here include non-resident tuition. The EAP costs don't include campus fees and UCEAP. All right, let's take a look at a semester comparison. So this is the one that's easy. This is the one-to-one. So if you go on a fall semester term, you're just going to compare it to a fall semester at home. We can see that Berkeley for a year right now is $41,728. Bordeaux Fall and Berkeley Spring is about $40,400, and then same for the Bordeaux Spring, it's about $40,800. So both of those options would be considered affordable. And then of course Ghana year, which is going to be quite affordable for Berkeley students. So this is just a way, this is a visual comparison that you students can use, or if you're advising students that want to know what programs are affordable, that this is one way for you to do it. It's just important to note for those quarter campus students that if they're planning on going on a fall semester program and they're going to return for winter and spring, I think they should keep that in mind and think about their overall annual cost, and not, you know, I don't want there to be any misconceptions. I mean, study abroad can be affordable, but for some students, the annual cost might be more than they expected. All right, so determining affordability review, just so in review, if a student attends a quarter system UC at UC, you basically all you need to know is, okay, am I going to be abroad for 1 or 2 quarters? Okay, I'm going to be abroad for 2 quarters, then I need to add 1 quarter to the EAP program cost. If I'm only going to be missing 1 quarter of the year, then I need to add 2 quarters. So do I need to add 1 or 2 quarters worth of my home campus cost with the EAP program costs, and then compare that to the annual? And then semesters, if I'm going to be abroad a semester, then I just need to add 1 home semester's worth of my cost of attendance, and then add that with my EAP program costs, and then compare that to my home campus cost of attendance for a year. And then abroad for a year, just simply compare your home campus annual cost with the UC EAP program cost. So where are UC and UCEAP costs located? Like I said, the UC campus cost of attendance budgets, there's a big table with all the budgets available there at that link. It has different housing options, and then it has one all student table that is a weighted average of all the housing option budgets. And then for the UCEAP program cost of attendance budgets, they're available on our website. So you can go to each program, has a cost page. At the top of the cost page will be sort of the overall cost of attendance number. It'll just be one sort of the big figure, right, that encompasses all the costs. We've got a cost calculator on the page. If you want, you can go down and you know, drill into the detail of what makes up that overall cost of attendance number. You might be interested when our UCEAP program cost webpage is updated. So we update twice a year, basically. So for summer, fall, and year programs, we're updating costs in March and April. And then for spring and year-long programs that start in spring, we're updating costs on the website in October. And all right, that was all I had on affordability and cost comparison. I hope it was helpful for you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kayan and Anthony to talk to us about financial aid packaging basics.
Great, thanks, Ben. For us at Berkeley, we are a semester school. So we're just going to provide an overview of how we package our students on our campus. So bear in mind that all UCs package their students differently. This is just how we package at Berkeley. My colleague Anthony and I will just alternate in terms of slides. So the first slide, how are EAP financial aid packages determined? So first step, like Ben mentioned, his office will provide us the budgets for each of the UC campuses. Once we receive those budgets, we will use them as a guideline to determine how much funding each student would be eligible for. And it also helps us to determine when we release aid, because financial aid, the earliest funds can be released is 10 days prior to their program start date. And each EAP program has different start dates. And then the last part is once they are packaged. So again, the budgets help us determine how much aid a student's able to be packaged. Their FAFSA determines what type of aid is eligible that they'll be eligible to receive. And if there are any individual adjustments to be made, then they would reach out to their UCEAP finance advisor. Once approved, they would notify us and we would adjust them accordingly. Next.
All right, so advising for Berkeley study abroad. So pre-COVID, Kayan or myself would be advising students in person at the Berkeley Study Abroad office located at 160 Stevens Hall. However, we are remote. There are Berkeley Study Abroad advisors that are still there, but I know their office hours are limited. So one of the few ways that students can contact Kayan or myself is if they're looking for a financial aid package estimate is by visiting the Berkeley Study Abroad website, and the link's right there. They can also reach us for phone appointments, and those are available upon request if any additional questions after receiving their estimates. And then primarily through email, which is at travelaid@berkeley.edu.
And so as Ben mentioned previously, when students are interested in finding out their UCEAP budgets, they'll just visit the UCEAP website. And so this is just an example of one of those budgets. Next.
All right, so how are EAP financial aid packages determined? So right there is a funnel. So that funnel represents the program budget cost, and that's comprised of really three things. So the expected family contribution, which is made up of your federal unsubsidized student loan or Parent Plus loans, and then your self-help. And the self-help, just a side note, is determined prior to the fall semester each year. So for example, this year it is $9,100 for the academic year, or $4,550 per semester. And that's comprised of your federal subsidized student loans or outside scholarships. And then last but not least, your gift aid, which is your federal Pell, state Cal Grant, your campus-based scholarships, fee-specific gift awards, et cetera. Just know that 100% of the student's program budget is met with financial aid.
And so when students receive outside scholarships, so in our example right here, if they receive Gilman, the goal is to reduce their self-help. So again, like Anthony had mentioned, the university determines self-help at the beginning of each and every academic year. So if it's $4,550, and let's say, for example, Gilman is $2,000, then basically Gilman helps to reduce their subsidized loan by the $2,000. So then $2,000 Gilman, and then the rest of self-help would be $2,550 in their subsidized loan. And like Anthony mentioned, the goal is always to reach up to their student budget, and their aid can never exceed their budget.
All right, so what happens in the event if a student receives too many outside awards? So as we mentioned previously, you have your self-help that sort of absorbs this. So whether you're receiving, Gates Award, Gilman scholarships, or et cetera, it eats into the self-help. And once that is reduced to zero, then it will start reducing gift aid. However, we do have a budget appeal process on campus, but we always advise that students seek out their study abroad advisor to go over that, because we know that UCEAP has their own budget appeal process.
5 minutes remaining.
Great, thank you. So this page, if students are interested in finding study abroad scholarships, then they would just visit the Berkeley Study Abroad website, and there's a section for scholarship searches.
And on that same website, the most popular one that we get a lot is the Gilman Scholarship, which is your independent scholarships.
And our last slide is to note that for summer at Berkeley, summer is treated as part of the end of the academic year. So it really means that we're still using the same FAFSA. Summer gift aid does tend to be limited because we're using the same FAFSA. So once their package for their limited gift aid, any additional funding offered to them would be any remaining loans, such as their student loans, Parent Plus loans, or the student can seek a private loan. And I'll pass back off to Ben.
All right. Thank you, Kayan and Anthony. Appreciate it. So that is the end of our presentation today. Thank you for attending this session. Just a reminder, please complete the conference survey. It will be sent to you at the end of the conference. And now I guess we'd like to open it up to questions. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. That is all we have today.
And Ben, if there's any questions that come up after this presentation, what's a great email address for them to send for student finance related questions?
Absolutely. So you can email the student finance office at studentfinance@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. So studentfinance@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu.
There are so many sessions. I wanted to hear this one, and I'm like, great. And I'm jumping in, and it's over.
Oh,
Darn it. I'm sorry.
It's been recorded, Virginia, so you can watch it at your,
Oh, that's right.
at your leisure.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Well, there's no questions. Thank you again to Kayan and Anthony from Berkeley, and thank you, Ben, for the great presentation. And we hope you have a great conference for everyone, and thank you for attending.
Thank you.